Hi, I'm Peter Tragos, host of the Lawyer You Know podcast and YouTube channel. The saying goes, everyone hates lawyers until you need one. Well, I'm here when you need one to answer your questions and give you insight that you didn't know you needed. Along with my partners, Pete Sardis, the professor, who has a finance and business background, and George Tragos, my dad, and the consigliere, a criminal defense giant, we can answer any questions you have. What's up, everybody? It's Peter Tragos, the Lawyer You Know, and today we are unfortunately reacting to and analyzing the legal fallout of the Bed Bath & Beyond CFO Gustavo Arnal taking his own life in New York this week. There was a lot of stressors going around Mr. Arnal's life that we're going to discuss in today's video, but there are criminal and civil implications that may be affected by his choice in taking his own life. We'll discuss how that affects your case in a civil matter and in a criminal matter, and what potential lawsuits could come down based on some of the corporate culture in America. Many of you remember what was going on with GameStop and Bed Bath & Beyond when the stocks spiked and then plummeted, and some people were accused of pumping and dumping and misleading, and there were some people that made a ton of money and others who were left holding the bag. Well, a lot of that has to do with Gustavo Arnal, who has been listed as a named defendant in a class action lawsuit, accusing him of a scheme to defraud people out of $1.2 billion, him and other defendants. So it's no surprise that his life was stressful, and Bed Bath & Beyond and their higher-ups even knew his life was stressful. What was stressful about it? Well, his company was failing. They were going to have to lay off over 20% of their corporate employees. He was trying to come up with financing and raise money to restructure the company to try to keep it afloat, try to keep his job, try to keep jobs for his employees. He was working 18-hour days. He was burning the candle at both ends, and enough was finally enough for him. There's never any justification for this. We would never say it's okay. We would always ask people to seek help and try to find help if you are having any suicidal thoughts or thinking of taking your own life. It is never worth it, in my opinion, and I would always try to encourage people to seek help and talk to your loved ones and realize that no matter how big and bad it seems, there is another answer. But for Mr. Arnal, he made that decision, and there's going to be a lot of fallout, legally speaking, based on his decision. So let's talk about the two major issues, legally speaking, with Mr. Arnal's death. First, on August 23rd, he was listed in a class action as a defendant in a civil fraud lawsuit. And the plaintiffs are alleging in that case that Mr. Arnal and others intentionally misled people and promoted their company and stocks so that everybody would buy in and the price would spike, and then Mr. Arnal and others sold and delayed mandatory reporting of how and when they sold that stock and made a ton of money while other people were holding the bag. So this lawsuit is obviously a big stressor, but at the end of the day, it is just money, as people say. Now, it's also embarrassment. It's also potentially he loses his job and can never work again. So it is a pretty big stressor when you think about somebody that's a CFO of a company being accused of things like this. It could be life-altering for him. But that's not all. There were also whispers of a federal investigation by the FBI for fraud against Mr. Arnal and others. And those criminal investigations and those criminal implications are a lot more than just money. Now we're talking about potentially facing life in prison for the actions that he took. And all of that piling on with his work stressors eventually led to Mr. Arnal choosing to take his own life. Do those cases now go away, or do they continue now that Mr. Arnal is no longer with us? Well, first, let's start with the civil case. In a civil cause of action, if a defendant passes away either intentionally or accidentally or just from old age or whatever it may be, your case does not have to end there. You can actually substitute defendants for the estate of the defendant. In just about every jurisdiction, if there is no estate, you can force the opening of that estate as the plaintiff in the case. And you can have legal claim to the assets of that estate. And that's what I would expect to happen in this case, that they will substitute Mr. Arnal out for Mr. Arnal's estate so they can continue trying to recoup some of the money that they believe he fraudulently stole from them based on his own misrepresentations and economic crimes. So the civil case does not necessarily have to end with someone's death. But what about the criminal case and the potential criminal charges? Well, that is something that ends with death. There's no real point or purpose in continuing to prosecute someone with taxpayer dollars to convict them for a prison sentence and punishment that they will never end up having to serve. We have had this situation happen as well, unfortunately, where we've had to file the motion to make all the charges go away because a criminal defendant has passed away. We have even dealt with it when it was at the decision of the criminal defendant to take his own life. And again, those charges all went away. And there's kind of a public policy reason behind that. And we've discussed that in other videos. So the criminal investigation may be going away against Mr. Arnall. However, in these kinds of cases where there are a lot of people involved and big companies involved, this may extend the criminal investigation to other employees and lower level people that may not have been implicated if Mr. Arnall was the target of this investigation. If he was the big fish or the head of the snake, they may now go to lower levels to get some accountability for the people and the companies involved in what they think may be criminal fraud. So we can keep an eye on that to see if anyone else involved is now going to be implicated that may not have been implicated before if Mr. Arnall was still with us. And the last potential legal implication to me is a bit more of a stretch, but there have been reports that the higher-ups at Bed Bath & Beyond knew that Mr. Arnall was under immense stress and was overwhelmed, but they did not want to remove him as their CFO when they were trying to raise money and financially restructure their company. And the question begs itself, what is the duty of a company to their employee and to their employees' families? If they know they are under immense pressure, should they force them to take a leave of absence, force them to get help, let the family members know that something may be going on? What is the duty of that company? Because it seems they had some knowledge of the stress, even though they didn't think he had reached his breaking point, but he was still working 18-hour days and doing all of these things for them as their CFO. So could Mr. Arnall's family actually have a claim against Bed Bath & Beyond for this corporate structure that they're creating? Now, back in the day, I think that this is something that would never happen, but in today's day and age in America, the corporate culture and corporate structure is being more condemned and looked down upon than it ever has before. And a case like this would be an interesting study as to what is the big corporate culture? What is expected from these CFOs and CEOs? And does it add to some damage in their life that potentially trickles down to their family, other employees, or other people that are involved that could have been avoided if the corporation or the higher-ups did the right thing? Now, everyone makes their own choices, and these jobs that come with a lot of pressure also come with a lot of money and a lot of power and a lot of responsibility. So I don't think it's a guarantee by any means, but I think it's just an interesting question that I would have for all of you, and I want to hear in the comments if you think the company has any liability to Mr. Arnall's family for how they handled this situation, knowing that things were boiling over and things were coming to a head, as just recently, August 23rd, is when this class action lawsuit was filed. Should they have done something at that time to make sure he got help or pull him out of the stressful work that was necessary in trying to restructure this big company? It's an interesting thought exercise to me. It may not be something that happens, but I would really like to get your opinion as potential jurors in the jurisdiction in which you live. You all would be deciding cases like this if you sat on a jury. So if that was a claim brought, do you think Bed Bath & Beyond would have any liability or not? And let me know if you think it's a good idea or bad idea that the criminal charges go away when someone dies, or if you think it would be worth taxpayer dollars to get that conviction because there needs to be some justice for the money that he allegedly stole to the tune of $1.2 billion, affecting lots and lots of people. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our page, and let me know if you have any questions or interest in future videos on this topic. But for now, that's all we got. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.